First, live, local. Good Day Oregon starts now on Fox 12 Oregon.
Now at 7, an important health warning for you this morning. Do not buy certain salads and wraps from some major grocery stores. They may be contaminated with a parasite.
Plus, an all-new wildfire in the gorge is forcing people from their homes this morning. What you need to know about the Milepost 90 fire, which has blackened thousands of acres. Good morning. Welcome to the 7 o'clock hour of Good Day Oregon. It's Wednesday, August 1st. I'm Kimberly Moss.
And I'm Shauna Parsons. We'll check in with Tony in just a moment. He's keeping an eye on your morning commute. Right now, though, Tracy has a look at the weather.
Alrighty, well, let's go ahead and talk about what conditions are like outside right now. I'll talk more about the area affected by these fires coming up in a little bit. But right now, current conditions, it's mostly cloudy. Temperatures are in the low 60s in Portland at 61 in Kelso, about 73 for the Dalles and 59 in Bend. The Portland forecast, temperatures will climb up into the low to mid 80s by this afternoon. Tony.
Well, thanks, Tracy. Right up to Air 12. They are indeed out there over the gorge where this Milepost 90 fire is burning. And in some of these shots, as they kind of, pan across the area, you'll see that SR-14 almost is the fire break there. That almost like a fire line is thrown so close to the highway in some areas. So again, quite a situation out there. And again, SR-14 is shut down now from the area of Highway 197 east to the Maryhill Museum. So that's about a 15-mile stretch there of that highway that is completely inaccessible right now as crews are still actively addressing this situation. And if they pan down a little bit towards the left, you'll kind of see the gorge coming into view there and the Columbia River. But again, that line you see in the bottom left of your screen, that indeed is SR-14. Kim, I know you can see this, that fire line burned right down to the highway. You can see where it's, black to the right of it, and then the others fields to the left. So just gives you an idea of why that closure needed to take place. More on all this coming up, of course, as the morning continues. Back to you.
Boy, dramatic pictures, Tony. This morning, we're watching 2 new fires on the Washington side of the Columbia Gorge. First, a level 3 evacuation is underway in the Milepost 90 fire near the town of Wishram. If you live in the Wishram Heights neighborhood north of SR-14, you are being asked to get out now. If you live in that neighborhood south of SR-14, you're asked to be ready to leave at a moment's notice. The Milepost 90 fire in Klickitat County has grown overnight to 11,000 acres, and this morning crews are still continuing their firefight as they try to get those flames under control. Fox 12's Marilyn Deutsch joins us now live from the Oregon side of the Columbia River. Good morning, Marilyn.
Good morning. Yeah, we're at Biggs Junction, but we're looking right smack dab at Klickitat County on the Washington side of the river, and you can see the smoke coming there from SR-14. And by the way, I know Tony mentioned that the burn just went down to the road. In a couple places, I know it did cross the road, actually. Now, it was last night that the Milepost 90 fire really lit up. It's just lit up the night sky, actually. Dozens of homes still under level 3 go now evacuation orders. Now, let's get specific about where those orders are in place. Wishram Heights, north of State Route 14, that is under level 3. The area east of Dalles Mountain Road and west of Highway 97, south of String Street Road and north of Highway 14, also level 3, go now evacuation order. And one more level 3 south of SR-14 at Maryhill Winery to Highway 97. And that, by the way, includes Pat's Ranch Mart. So if you were going to go there today, don't bother. The fire has consumed roughly 11,000 acres of grass and brush fuels on Forest Service land, Bureau of Indian Affairs land, and private property as well. This fire was first reported about 4:30 Tuesday afternoon. It did start at Milepost 90, and it started on State Route 14. Now, several neighbors are also under level 2 and level 1 evacuation notices, and that level 2, by the way, includes the community of Maryhill. Folks who live in this stretch of Klickitat County say they watched the fire grow and spread Tuesday evening. Alice Aston is under a level 3 go now evacuation order, but when we talked to her last night, she wasn't going anywhere.
We really weren't expecting it to come down the hills on this side. It's hard to tell, and at times it moves faster than others, but the winds died down from what it was, and the temperatures definitely down. So I think that helps.
Well, the winds are kicking up again this morning, and obviously the temperature is rising. Cause of this fire, by the way, is under investigation. Now, earlier in the day, our cameras caught a helicopter just kind of dipping into the Columbia River and dropping water on the fire. The Klickitat emergency manager told us last night that fortunately no homes or buildings have been lost, though of course many threatened, and there have been no reports of any injuries. We are still waiting for a morning update on those statistics. State Fire Marshal's office, by the way, as well as the U.S. Forest Service, responding to milepost 90 fire, and also the local fire departments also helping out. Red Cross has set up an evacuation shelter at the Golden Day High School. And by the way, if this all sounds familiar, it's because we were kind of in the same spot last year on this very same day when a grass fire broke out in the same area. That fortunately was smaller than this one, and it was actually put out rather quickly. But again, this is wildfire season in the gorge. Live in Biggs Junction, Marilyn Deutsch. Good day, Oregon.
Yeah, and a very busy time in the gorge for fires right now. Let's take a live look from Air 12 at this fire. You know, as you drive by, you see the smoke, but Shauna and Tony, as we see this, you can now see the flames, and this really tells the story, although quite different than when we saw that wheat burning in those other fires. It's so dramatic to see it from the air and to see that, such a large swath of land just blackened by this.
And what's, looking more and more familiar as these, fires begin to burn is that you'll see that leading edge of fire, and then the wind, you can kind of blowing the smoke straight across the land there and kind of, feeding all that and fueling that. And again, Air 12 is probably a couple thousand feet above this, so the perspective is a bit skewed, but imagine right there at ground level, these flames are much bigger than they would appear here. But yeah, because of the proximity of that fire burning on SR-14, it is close for about 15 miles out in that area.
And again, just a reminder, if you live in the Wishram Heights neighborhood north of SR-14, you're being asked to get out now. If you live south of SR-14, just be ready at a moment's notice. And we talk about all of the fires that happened in the gorge. There was another fire near this area. It's called the Tunnel Fire. It's just west of this fire, which is the milepost 90 fire. Firefighters are now mopping up the tunnel fire after it put a lot of people on alert. We spoke with a man who had a close call with the tunnel fire.
I'm still not exactly sure why it stopped or how it stopped, but very grateful that it did. Trees were kind of almost like, exploding and engulfed in flames, and that was probably a little scary.
Yeah, the ground is now charred on nearly every side of Kyle Johnson's home. He says he was working from home yesterday afternoon when he smelled smoke, and he went outside to see an inferno just feet away. At that point, he grabbed a hose, he dug some lines, and he waited for firefighters. The fire burned more than 15 acres just outside of White Salmon. Most of it was contained to Johnson's property, but Klickitat County emergency managers told dozens of neighbors to be ready to evacuate. Those warnings are now lifted. Investigators are still working to determine the cause of this fire. Washington Governor Jay Inslee has declared a state of emergency because of all the wildfires burning in his state. There are fires on both sides of the Cascades, with nearly 300 fires reported on just the western side alone. It's expected to get even worse as almost all of Washington is experiencing drought-like conditions. With Inslee's declaration, National Guard members are now getting deployed to help out fire crews. Well, you'll want to check your fridge this morning after an important health warning. Some salads and wraps from major grocery stores could be contaminated with parasites. Trader Joe's, Walgreens, and Kroger are all part of an alert from federal health officials. They say 24 beef, pork, and poultry salads and wraps from the stores could be infected. The products have best buy or sell by dates of between July 18th and 23rd. The parasite can cause intestinal illness that can last a few months unless it's treated with antibiotics. Let's get back to the fire situation, and Tracy Hinson, as we look at the view from Air 12, how is the weather playing a role in all of this? So this is usually a windy area. Today, wind gusts will be up to about 30 miles per hour. But what I wanted to show you here with this view is just how close those fires are burning to the town that's nearby, right on the river there. Widespread, big black hills from this fire, and it's very dry. Almost everywhere, in Oregon, for the most part, is seeing under normal, below average rain totals right now. In the Portland area, we're under by about 3 inches, some areas even more. So it's very, very dry as firefighters are fighting these fires. And condition-wise, temperatures will be quite warm yet again today, about 63 degrees. Winds are out of the north at 5 miles per hour. Let's talk about current wind speeds. We're looking at just about 6 in Hood River, 7 in the Dalles. Gusts, though, anywhere about 20. You can see up here when you're looking at this map where those wind speeds are as far as the gusts are concerned.
concerned. And we see some areas here, especially right near on the Washington side, closer to 20 miles per hour. Now the forecasted wind speed today will be about 10 to 20, but gusts locally stronger for a few areas. And do remember that fires create their own weather within them, so they could have some gusts locally higher than that. Current temperatures, it's about 68 in Hood River, 73 for the Dells, quite warm. It is 63 in Portland, 59 for Tillamook, and 59 in Newport. Forecast along the coast, temperatures here aren't going to do a whole lot. We're going to go from 59 this morning to about 60 for Newport, 68 in Tillamook, 65 for Astoria, even some areas of a little drizzle. And into the valleys, about 85 for Portland, 88 in Salem, and 88 for Albany. Out to the gorge, morning clouds on the west end, windier on the east end. Gusts, like I said, at 30 miles per hour. A high temperature today for the Dalles, around 92 degrees. Up to Mount Hood, 81 for Welch's, 67 Timberline, and 73 at Government Camp. And central eastern Oregon, smoky here as well, actually from smoke that's from wildfires burning closer to the south part of the state. 90 in Bend, 93 Madras, 93 in Burns, about 98 in Pendleton. 7-day forecast, here we go. We'll be looking at 73 on Thursday, 75 Friday, much cooler, a few sprinkles are possible. Low to mid 80s for Saturday and Sunday, and those 80s will hang on into Monday and Tuesday. Early morning and overnight temperatures will be seasonable and mostly in the 60s. Tony.
Yeah, Tracy, back at Air 12 there again over that area of the milepost 90 fire. And look at this fire, this active fire here burning right just, within feet of SR 14, so close to the highway there. And again, that is what that closure is all about, that 15-mile stretch of SR 14 that is shut down there this morning because of this fire burning just so close to the highway. Again, we'll have more on all that coming up. But in the meantime, if your travels take you out into the gorge, you'll definitely want to go onto the Oregon side to get around that closure on the Washington side. Elsewhere on the drive in here closer to the Portland, Vancouver area, to have our ramp closure, of course, still along 84 coming inbound. Maybe our biggest backup of the week there begins, well before the Hollywood district and continues slowly all the way down to that I-5 interchange where just the left lane gets by from Lloyd Boulevard to I-5. Across the interstate bridge, a little hesitation north of it, but you can still see some pretty good gaps there between the cars as they head south in towards Jansen Beach. Kim and Shauna, back to you. Oh, actually, you know what? We'll have more coming up. First Live and Local here on Good Day Oregon.